September 25th, 2007. It was the biggest opening day in entertainment history. Bigger than the premiere of Spider-Man 3. Bigger even than the debut of the final Harry Potter book.
I've been here for what, almost 24 hours now?
What these crowds were eagerly awaiting was the latest edition of Microsoft's best-selling video game.
The wait is over. Halo 3 is here.
Halo 3 had arrived, big time. The total sales in just one day, an unprecedented $170 million. But just months later, that record was topped by yet another video game. Grand Theft Auto 4 raked in a staggering $310 million in its first day.
GTA, baby!
The video game industry is on a winning streak.
Yes, it's time to rock out.
With the promise of even more to come.
By 2010, there'll be 75 million people in this country who are between the ages of 10 and 30. Every one of those 75 million people will have grown up with video games.
The industry wants to keep them all playing whatever they want.
You want to shoot people and carjack them and take their cars, it's an integral part of the game.
And being whoever they want.
I am Brittany Mason, a 26-year-old blonde, buxom blonde shell.
Tonight, CNBC goes inside an entertainment phenomenon. Meet the genius who took the dollhouse into the digital age.
Some people play it kind of as a spreadsheet for life.
And see how this mother of three is making real money playing pretend.
I'm on target to make about $80,000, $85,000 this year.
And why the Fortune 500 wants in on the action.
It's really like a 24/7, auto show that's on all the time.
Now, the CNBC original documentary, Playing to Win, Inside the Video Game Industry, with correspondent Bill Griffin.
It looks like a college campus a week after finals, but don't let the laid-back, chilled-out setting fool you. This is headquarters of the NFL.
Launches it deep to the left.
The Mafia. And Bond.
Who are you?
The name is Bond. James Bond.
Well, at least they're virtual counterparts.
All right, that's fixed.
That's right?
Yeah.
Welcome to Electronic Arts, one of the world's largest video game publishers. In 2007, EA earned $3 billion producing games for all the major game platforms. Creating fantasies here is all about making them seem as real life.
You take the two-dimensional map and add that on, and you get your VJ.
In EA's Tiger Woods PGA Pro Tour, it's par for the course.
Callaway clubs or Cobra drivers or Nike putters, you're able to actually pick those brands up, put them on your golfer, and so not only does your golfer look how you want him to look, he's playing with the equipment that you're used to playing, and it really makes you feel like you're in the game.
I think it's a 7-iron.
If God is in the details, then heaven might look something like EA.
We come up with a list of sounds that we think we're going to need, and then we set about going out and recording these things. Right now I've selected Scottish birds, because this is a Scottish course, and so these are some bird tweets. The flag flapping, ball going in the cup. That's the big payoff right there.
For their James Bond title, From Russia with Love, EA spared no expense to get the right guy to play 007, Sean Connery himself.
May I help you?
A dry martini. Shaken, not stout.
We had some lines in there that were a little bit more modern, and he'd say, I don't even know this line. So, he dialed us into the 60s, he dialed us into Bond. We could have made the game, but it wouldn't have been near as good.
Listen down a little more.
Bringing Hollywood showmanship to video games has been part of EA's style since the very beginning.
That was a complete bomb. They were really desperate.
That's not just any gamer traveling down memory lane. That is Trip Hawkins, the founder of Electronic Arts. Even as a kid in the pre-Pong years, Hawkins was a game player.
I'd want to play games with my friends, but they would want to watch television. And when I first heard about computers, I thought, aha, if we put the game in the computer, we can actually make it look and feel like television, but then it'll be a truly interactive experience where you're really there and you're part of the action.
The only problem was it was the 1970s, and Hawkins had to wait until computers caught up with his ideas for them.
And I thought, okay, well, how many years is it going to take before there's enough computers in the home that I can make the games that I want to make? And I decided that if I waited until 1982, that would be long enough. And that was 7 years away.
He used the time wisely, working as director of product marketing at a new company called Apple. Hawkins carefully observed everything, especially the software designers.
These guys are very ingenious prima donnas, pretty much just like the divas that run around Hollywood. So why not have a company that's really themed around doing a better job of taking care of them and nurturing them, and in fact kind of making them into brands.
That's exactly what he did when he left Apple to start EA. Inspired by the music business, Hawkins packaged his designers' games with covers that looked like record albums. They sold well, but the star power of game designers never shined as bright as, say, Mick Jagger's. Hawkins thought, why not get a real celebrity to star in a game? And what celebrities could be bigger than pro athletes?
And I thought we could do one-on-one basketball, and we can draw 2 basketball players. And then it was just obvious to me immediately it had to be Dr. J and Larry Bird.
Released in 1983, Dr. J and Larry Bird Go One-on-One was a smash. But what Hawkins really wanted was a full team sport, a football game featuring coach and commentator John Madden. But at the time, having 11 players on each team like a real game was technically impossible. Hawkins, however, wouldn't give up on the idea.
It took 4 years, and it became known in the company as Trip's Folly. And at one point, the auditors had to come personally to see me to explain that, I'm sorry, but we have to write this off because it's obviously not an asset. It's obviously just an expense that you are never going to recoup.
He's laughing because Trip's Folly helped make EA the first third-party software publisher to earn $1 billion a year. With a new edition released annually, John Madden's NFL has remained at the top of the video game bestseller charts. After becoming the MVP of software, Hawkins turned his attention to what he hoped would be his next big breakthrough. He spearheaded the move in the middle 90s to create a standard for video game systems.
So let's get rid of all this Nintendo and Sony and incompatibility. Let's create one single standard. It'll be called the 3DO standard.
With Hawkins licensing the hardware technology to Panasonic, the 3DO console made its debut in 1993.
And it was fantastic. Amazing 3D graphics, stuff you're not going to get for another couple of years till the original PlayStation comes around. But nobody wants it.
Part of the problem was the price. At $700, the 3DO was the most expensive game console ever.
We were just hoping that because of all the other features that it had, it would look really more like a hi-fi purchase or a TV or a VCR. So that was one of the lessons learned, is that nope, it's going to be viewed as a game system, it's going to be judged as a game system, and it's too expensive for a game system, even with all the whizzy new capabilities.
As the console wars raged on, game designers faced a never-ending battle of their own.
It's somewhat inevitable that at the end of the project, people end up coming in on weekends, working late hours.
We have a very flexible work environment, and if you're a new Wild Tangent employee, we tell you can work any 80 hours a week you like.
I lived away from home for almost 3 months, helping get the game done in the final crunch stage. So I didn't see my friends, my family for a while, although I was allowed some conjugal visits.
We're still making tweaks on the models, but we've got to nail that in the next few weeks if we're going to stay on track.
Most of the crunch time is spent making everything perfect, eliminating the bugs, those errors that can ruin gameplay and ultimately game sales.
It's crises every day. You're not putting a spacecraft in space, but you are like figuring out why Kim Possible is walking through walls on level 7. And if you're doing it right and you're working together, we find it kind of thrilling.
Oh, really? In 2004, the fiancée of an EA programmer made news when she reported that her husband was required to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Not long after, programmers and graphic artists at EA sued the company for unpaid overtime. EA eventually paid out a total of $30 million in settlements and changed its overtime policies. Today, at Trip Hawkins' new game company, Digital Chocolate, software designers get the star treatment.
I share the ownership with everyone. If you keep advancing, you'll just keep getting more stock options, because that's fair.
Coming up, the video game industry under attack.
It's just the worst kind of message to kids.
Video game violence, next, as Playing to Win continues.